If you're showing up to selection and you're rolling the dice as far as not knowing if you can max out these events, guys, you're going to fail. What's going on, guys? If you're new here, my name is Jay, retired Green Beret, and the intent behind this channel is to share my knowledge and wisdom with the next generation. How strong do you need to be for special operations, for special forces, to become a Green Beret? So about a month back, I had some guys that were going through selection. They went through selection the first time, got hurt, became a med drop, and then they were waiting to get reinserted back into selection. About 2 weeks out, one of the guys reached out to me and he told me, hey, I'm getting dropped from student company because I failed the push-ups. And what was going through my head was, wait a minute, you're trying out to become a special forces soldier and you can't pass a push-up? Like, stop calling me. I don't want to talk to you anymore. That's the basic standard. If you're going to try out to become special forces, at least meet the minimum standards. Guys, today I'm going to talk to you guys about how strong I needed to be whenever I went to Special Forces assessment and selection. I wanted to say how strong I needed to be because keep in mind, everybody's body is different. But I can tell you right now, if you meet these milestones, then you shouldn't have a problem passing selection. First, let's look at perception. So there's a perception out there that all Special Forces guys are these big, muscular, super like Captain America dudes that can, run 5-minute miles and all this gibberish. Guys, that's not true at all, right? When it comes to special operation, guys come in all shapes and sizes, all right? I'm talking about dudes that are like 5'2" getting selected. Cats that are like 6'5" getting selected. One thing I can tell you is regardless of the physical stature of those dudes, they all showed up able to meet the basic standards, all right? Let's talk about these standards by phase. Now, guys, keep in mind, Special Forces assessment and selection, I always preach, regardless of what shape you show up at, by the end, everybody's going to be smoke, right? But the first week of Special Forces assessment and selection, you need to show up in the best shape of your life, able to pass the physical fitness exam on the extended scale, all right? I'm talking about when I showed up personally, I was knocking out 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups. My run sucked. So at 26, I was running 1406, right? And then I did 35 pull-ups. That was me when I went through selection the first week, all right? Now, for you, I know it's changed some. Now it's the ACFT. When you're doing the hand release push-up, you need to be able to max that out. Then you have the plank. You have to be able to max that out also. And then your 2-mile run, guys, based on your age group, you got to be able to knock it out the park, right? That's the basic standards for the first week of selection. Now, the second week, guys, that's where the rucking comes in. When I went through, guys, I was rucking like nobody's business. I'm talking about 7 days straight out there conducting land nav, and I'm just walking for days on end with 60, 70 pounds on my back, right? That's something that you have to be able to do for the second week of Special Forces assessment and selection, all right? Now, keep that in mind. Week 1, you're knocking out all these physical events. Week 2, same thing. You got that tick on your back, right? The rucksack, days on end, doing the day and doing the night. And then you get to week 3 where whatever you have left in the tank won't matter, guys. When they look at you and tell you, hey, you need to move this, vehicle with no wheels, 7 clicks, what are you going to do? You have nothing left in the tank. You have to dig deep and then you have to execute, right? Now, that's physically. Now, you also got to keep in mind, you need to be mentally strong also for all of selection, especially by the time you get to the third week, right? So if you're prepping to go to Special Forces assessment and selection right now, I would say make sure you're on the extended scale and make sure you got tons of miles on your feet with the rucksack on your back. How do you do that? Guys, make sure you're in the gym. Make sure you straighten your forearm. Make sure you straighten your grip. Make sure your shoulders are able to handle all that weight that's going to go in there from the rucksack. Make sure you're squatting. Make sure you're doing lunges, right? You want to show up to selection ready. For me, prepping for selection was a walk in the park because fitness was a lifestyle for me. I've been working out since I was 10. You know what I mean? And then I was in the Army for 6 years prior to even going to selection. So by the time I got to selection, my body was already conditioned. I had that stamina, right? I've lived in the gym. So all I had to do was tweak a few things here and there, and I was good to go. If that's not you, then you're going to have a hard time getting your body up to that point. You can't wake up one day and you're 25 years old, have never been to the gym a day in your life, and now you're like, I'm going to go start training for Special Forces and assessment and selection. You might get there, but you might be injury prone, right? Or you might get there thinking that you're in the best shape of your life and selection just crushes you. Now, I'm not telling you this to discourage you. I'm just trying to set expectation for you. Now, that's selection itself. Let's say you make it past selection and you get to phase 1 of the Q course, which is SUT. SUT is a second phase that's going to crush you physically. Now, I'm talking about you're out there with that rucksack on your back, weighing anywhere from 80 to 120 pounds, and you're walking from days on end, right? On limited food, limited sleep, in austere condition, right? You got rain, snow. Camp McCall has its own weather system, right? It might be nice and bright out here at Fort Bragg proper, but you're Camp McCall and it's storming and all sorts of crazy shit's going on, right? Now for that, again, guys, it goes back to rucking. You have to be able to not only ruck your butt off, but also do a lot of preventative maintenance to keep yourself from getting injured, to keep your feet where it needs to be so you're able to go the entire 3 months that you're going to be out there, right? When I went through SUT, again, I was in the best shape of my life, guys. I was doing a shit ton of pull-ups leading up to it, a shit ton of deadlifts, and a shit ton of squats because I knew I was going to be on my feet for endless hours with that rucksack on my back. So I wanted to get my legs as strong as I can get them, right? Because at that point, I've already been selected. What I did was I went back to home station and I was squatting like every day. I was literally on a squat every day program, pull-ups every day program, lunges every day program, just to get my legs as strong as I can get them. Because at that point, for SUT, all I had to do was pass the PT test, with 80% or above. Right? I wasn't worried about maxing it at that point because I had already done so at selection. All I wanted to do at this point was pass. And then I understood like the bulk of this part of training was going to be just me being on my legs with minimum food and minimum sleep. So I wanted my legs to be as stout as I could get them. Right? And that's what I did for SUT. No injuries, didn't have any problems, right? Guys, I'm telling you what works for me. If you want to adapt that, by all means, but that's what got me through it, right? And after SUT, guys, I went through Sear, which again, the shape that you were in doing SUT, it carried over because I only had like a week off and then I went right into it. Minimal food, minimal sleep. I lost 25 pounds when I was at Sear, right? At that point, it was just mental toughness that got me through that. Not so much the physical shape that I was in. Once you're done with those phases, guys, those were my most challenging phases as far as physical fitness. Then I go into language, and at that point, it's just maintaining and making fitness a way of life, essentially, right? Because you got to keep in mind, as a Special Forces operator, you don't just get in shape and then let yourself get out of shape, because at any given time you can be called to go downrange and perform, a variety of different missions that requires you to be in shape. Not being in shape in special operation equals people dying on the battlefield, right? I remember, back in 2012, we were out conducting commandos, and we had this guy that was attached to us, and he had a big ass backpack because, he was a support MOS, and we're going up this fucking mountain, man. If anybody knows sort of East, you guys know there's nothing but mountains out there. So whenever we would go out, we'd have to scale these crazy mountains for days on end, right? And we had the support guy with us, and he just couldn't get up the mountain. And he looked at my team song, and he was like, just leave me out here. I can't make it up this mountain. Just leave me for dead. And we all kind of looked at him like, dude, what the hell are you talking about? Like, you're an American. We can't just leave you out here. You need to get your ass up and get your ass up that mountain, right? But guys, we don't have that luxury, right? And to prevent that from happening, you got to be in shape. It's got to be a way of life. And that starts while you're in language in the Q course, because there won't be a cadre there looking over your shoulders and telling you to go to the gym and go run and do all. No, they have other stuff to do at that point in the course. They're putting that on you, because what you learn during that phase, you have to carry to the groups, where your team sergeant, he might have, organized PT in the morning. However, if he misses a day here and there because of what he's got going on with the leadership, then it's up to you to make sure that you get that fitness in, right? Because these are all big boy rules, right? Because you're no longer in big army where there's organized PT and all of that. That's being put on you. And if you show up to a team fat and out of shape, dude, they're just going to look at you and say, well, this dude's not even, disciplined enough to keep himself in shape. He doesn't need to be on this team. So you need to learn how to make physical fitness a way of life. And same goes with deployment, guys. During deployments, as an SF guy, I didn't have organized PT. I didn't do any of that, right? Because guys are, spread to the four winds doing whatever they need to do for the next operation. It was on me after every operation to find time to get in the gym and maintain that physical fitness standard, right? And the other guys did the same. But if you're not disciplined enough to do that, then you're just going to get out of shape and become a liability, right? So I urge you, as you're going through training, if you're not doing so already, to make it a way of life, to make it something that you do on a regular day. In conclusion, guys, as far as how strong you need to be to pass special operations training, you need to be in the best shape of your life. When I went through as a 25-year-old, I was in the best shape of my life, right? I can do push-ups like nobody's business. I can do pull-ups like nobody's business. I can do sit-ups like nobody's business. Run, it was where it needed to be, right? Just because naturally I don't like running. But I made up for what I lacked in running in other areas, right? There has to be a good balanced approach, right? If you're showing up to selection and you're rolling the dice as far as not knowing if you can max out these events, guys, you're going to fail. Don't let Jesus take the wheel, right? Go there knowing that you're going to crush it. And if you don't and something happens, whether it's injuries or then it is what it is, right? But don't show up to selection not able to meet the basic standards, all right? Guys, I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions for me, leave it in the comment section below. Until next time, guys, take care of yourselves.